views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Chowri Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to autism advocate Eileen Lamb as she discusses the ups and downs of raising autistic children while being on the autism spectrum herself. And we'll speak to Joe Cruz Jr. as he discusses his self-made tequila business while helping young entrepreneurs get started on their climb to the top. After that, we'll be joined by Jamaican American contemporary painter and illustrator Diana Carla Rowe as she discusses her Black expressionism through her art and enhancing its worth. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on rapper, singer, and spoken word artist Vala with a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way. Now we are officially open. Hey everyone, welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So April is Autism Awareness Month. It's a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. Autism spectrum disorder impacts the nervous system, and it ranges, the range and severity of symptoms can vary while widely affecting all aspects of life, right? So our first guest, she's a writer, photographer, founder of the Autism Cafe, and podcast host of Adulting on the Spectrum. She shares the ups and downs of raising children with autism while being on the spectrum herself. So here now to share more and tell us more and educate us more about autism, we welcome autism advocate Eileen Lamb. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. And that was certainly a mouthful to share with our viewers. Let's just start with the fact that you are a mom to two children that are on the spectrum. You yourself are on the spectrum, and I understand you have another one on the way, not necessarily on the spectrum, but just to say that you've got your hands full, and yet you still find the time to develop this community that I was able to explore called the Autism Cafe. First, let's start with how and what compelled you to see if you were autistic, right? Because I read somewhere that you decided to check yourself for autism once you realized that your son was autistic.
That's right. My son was diagnosed, my oldest son, when he was 2. And when I told my mom about Charlie's diagnosis, my mom is in France, and she told me that she thought the diagnosis was wrong because I was the exact same way as Charlie as a child. But I knew without a doubt that Charlie had autism. And I started doing some research online about high-functioning autism, and was like, wow, this is me. It felt very relatable. So I went through a therapeutic assessment and I was diagnosed then.
So you're saying high functioning, and you're saying that you have similarities to Charlie. Charlie is the one who has severe autism, right? And then you have another one, Jude. Is it Jude?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how were you relating your symptoms to Charlie if Charlie is the one that doesn't communicate verbally?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of other symptoms that, for instance, I always talked when I was a child, which is a big difference between Charlie and I, but like socially, like I was in my bubble, I wouldn't, interact with people. I only wanted to do the same thing, just like Charlie just wanted to line up his cars. For me, it was counting money and things like that, or piling things up. And it was these symptoms, not the speech. The speech part, I didn't identify with Charlie.
And so what about Jude? Like, what are Jude's symptoms?
Yeah, it's about like me, like, and Sammy, he loves, money and counting and all of that. He has a lot of a special interest. He's like math. He's more of, the cliche that you would see in movies, like very, very smart, but socially awkward autism.
So, all right. So since you're a person who, aside from doing this extensive research and also recognizing certain symptoms within yourself, like, how are you able to identify the different variations? Like, is there some kind of level that exists in being on the spectrum?
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. Like for instance, Charlie, my oldest, he's completely nonverbal. He just turned 9. He will need care 24/7 for the rest of his life. It's not just the language that's delayed, but for instance, he doesn't understand danger. He needs help with like everyday tasks, like just like getting dressed, brushing teeth, all of that. So there is a big difference between level 1, which is me and Jude, and level 3, which would be Charlie, the most severe.
How many levels are there altogether?
3.
There's 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And so when you created this Autism Cafe, what exactly were in your thoughts? I mean, obviously you wrote a book too, which I forgot to mention, right? All across the spectrum, but obviously you've designed your life around your living circumstances, and so aside from you dealing with it yourself, now you're sharing it with the community to assist other individuals. I mean, that's a lot to wear, on your shoulders.
I didn't want this at first. I just started sharing on Facebook. It was just a Facebook page. It was like to keep my family posted in France. And then like I had a post go viral and people were like, oh my God, I can relate to this so much. I don't feel alone anymore. And I was like, oh, wow, it's so nice. Now I'm like connecting with people, and it just encouraged me to like keep writing, and it just kind of snowballed, and it turned out to be like this big community and page and blog. But at first I just wanted to share with family. And then once people started reaching out to me, it just kept me going.
And so, and then from there, you expanded into a podcast, right? And so on your podcast, you also invite people who are also on the spectrum, correct?
Yeah. In my podcast, I have a co-host and we interview autistic adults, but, we really want to give a voice to like a wide variety of people. So we have some people who are like, who live with their parents still, and we have others who are like very independent and successful. And we'd like to, include some level 3 autistic people, but it's hard because they can't communicate. Yeah.
And the podcast, for those interested, is called Adulting on the Spectrum. And I listened to a few interviews, and I found it really, really intriguing to just, and hopeful, right? Because we all get identified in certain aspects, right? Of how we grow, or where we've grown, and be it through, our race and or our abilities or disabilities for that matter. And to see that there's this normalizing aspect of just living with it. It was really refreshing to just even educate myself about it.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to achieve, you know. It's like I was talking about, you often see in movies and TV shows like the cliche of either like the very successful, very smart and socially awkward, but most autistic people are very boring, if I can say, you know, we're just trying to live normal lives and be happy.
Yeah. And I also love that you offer some movies that are autistic driven, right? Or like the subject matter is autism, and they're movies that I don't think we would even really expect. So anyway, I applaud you. I applaud you, and I thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. And I hope we've enlightened you guys on some of what there is. And are there any last words you want to share with our viewers with regards to autism?
Yeah, I would say, you know, just remember there is a saying, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. That is to say, we're all different from each other, and, you know, it varies in severity. And yeah, we're all different. We're all unique, all our own person.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Eileen Lamb, everyone. She's a autism advocate, host, and author of All Across the Spectrum, and also Be the One, and host of Adulting on the Spectrum. And of course, she has the platform, the Autism Cafe. And if you're interested in more information, you can visit autismcafe.com. And you can also check them out on Instagram at the Autism Cafe. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll talk to a Harlem native that's using his self-made tequila business to help young entrepreneurs get started on their climb to the top. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. Our next guest is a Harlem native who made a career out of building spirit brands for others until he took a leap of faith to create something of his own that's new, lasting, and inspiring to others. He set his sights on bringing a new vision to his favorite spirit, tequila, working with the most awarded distillery in Mexico. And he and his team combined traditional methods with new ideas and inspirations to create Llave. In addition to his passion for his family and Llave, Joe is a strong proponent for his community and helping young and social entrepreneurs get started on their climb to the top. Here now to tell us more is founder of Llave Tequila, Joe Cruz Jr. Hello, welcome.
Great morning. That was one hell of an intro. I feel like a superstar right now. My energy's up. I feel good. So thank you for that. It was awesome.
Oh, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. Your story is so inspiring. And I am so looking forward to sharing it with our viewers. It's certainly taken long enough, but you've been busy building, and you've done quite a job, I must say.
Yeah.
So let's just start with your humble beginnings. Let's give it to them from the very beginning.
Well, I mean, born and raised in Spanish Harlem. And I tell people I was here before it was cool. Now it's cute. Now it's everyone lives here, but I was here way before it was cute to live in Spanish Harlem. But Spanish Harlem made me the man that I am. So there are a lot of times when I'm sitting in these situations, like certain boardrooms, there's certain investment meetings, there's certain pitches, and I feel no fear. And my team always would ask me why. And I'm like, because I come from a different world where you step outside and anything might happen. But in the world that I'm in now, I got to propel myself and get to empower my community, of course, and do different things. So Harlem made me who I am. Like, I'll never deny that I'm from here, still living in Spanish Harlem, still in El Barrio. Because I like to say, as Harlem evolved, I evolved. So I was fortunate that things are changing around me and I'm getting to, become a different man myself as well.
That's so awesome. I can relate. I'm from El Barrio myself. We roll like that off camera too. Just to give you guys a little insight, right? Because the fact of the matter is that it's like the generation, right? This next generation of development and how the development is influencing. Because unfortunately, East Harlem is getting some bad rap on through the press. So it's lovely to share these stories of inspiration to show that it's not all that, right? And so thank you for sharing that it all started there. And please do, you know, from the most authentic place, share how it wasn't an overnight process, right? Here we are in 2022, and you've got this distribution that is quite lovely and expansive, but it didn't start like that.
Yeah, to give you the quick background of who Joe Cruz Jr. is as the liquor professional, I started in liquor stores. I wound up buying a liquor store. I worked in the distribution as a merchandiser for a year, then a salesman for 10 years. On my 10-year anniversary, I said, I'm bored. I want to do something different. So I went to a tiny supplier. And when I say tiny, I mean, without touching my fingers, it was that small. And I went from running New York to the East Coast to the national marketing guy. Then I woke up August 26, 2015, 7:30 in the morning and retired. And every company came after me. They were pouncing upon me. And I knew why, because I was a light-skinned Puerto Rican from the hood. So I can go downtown Manhattan and people felt good being around me. I could go into the projects and people felt good being around me. So I could transition to both worlds seamlessly. So when it came to building a brand, if you wanted to go urban, general market, I was kind of the guy. But when it was time for me to do my own thing, it was more about my son and myself, because I'm a single dad. So I, raised my son. His mother and grandmother's family always helped. I'm not saying I was by myself in this, but he was with me for a lot of his life. And when I woke up, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to my son, because I was in Orlando, Florida, while he was with his grandmother. And it's a Friday, 7:30 during the summer. My son did not want to hear from me. I called him, he's like, what's up, Dad? And I'm like, look, son, I'm going to create a brand from scratch. And he's like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, every time I buy you a video game, somebody makes money off of that. So when I'm spending the money, they're getting the money. I want to be on the other side of that when it comes to the beverage side. And my son's like, I get it, Dad, you're going to be huge. I said, if it doesn't work.
How old was he at that time? How old is he?
He was 14, actually. Yeah, in junior high school, just starting high school. Now he's in college, 19-year-old at college. My son, who made my life easy, was the reason Yahweh is so successful, because he never gave me problems, told me he was going to get a full scholarship to his favorite school, walked in one day, threw the paper on my lap, and I'm like, oh, you did it. This is what we do, son. We say it and we do it. But then it was just about building the brand and showing, everybody anything is possible. Of course, our tagline is unlock possibility. And the reason that is because there's a key on every single bottle. So when you say Yahweh, there's an actual key. But that was because when I was designing with one of my best friends, Brett, who grew up on 115th between First and Pleasant Avenue, we designed the bottle together. So 2 Harlem products designed the bottle that people love so much. When I was explaining it to him what it was, I designed the bottle for bartenders. It fits in a well, fits in a rack. Try to think of the industry as a whole. But more importantly, that key meant everything, because I wanted to open a door for others. So that's how the key thing started. I said that to Brett, and he said, let's use a key. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. It's so simple. And he did it, and that's how the key was born.
Oh my gosh. And I got to tell you that the tagline is an affirmation. And I do want to just go back a little bit and just send my utmost admiration to you for being a single dad. I mean, that it's something that really is I've taken in deeply, because you took that role very, very seriously, and your son's productivity is accolades to your development as well. So it's like a nice balance of like, yeah, you built a brand and you also developed another human being to be successful in his own respective area. So that shouldn't go overlooked. I just want to go a little bit. No, it's awesome. Awesome. And
the whole thing started with $20,000. So for people who say you need a lot of money to start this, no, I did all the paperwork myself. My apartment was my office. It all literally started on a sofa in Spanish Harlem. When I say that, I'm not exaggerating. You hear about these big companies starting in a garage. Those guys had a house and they were able to go to the garage. I didn't have that. I had to go from my room to my living room every morning and just work and figure this thing out. And the reason that was so important is because most people start with celebrities and they start with millions. I wanted to prove literally that anything is possible. And we say in Spanish, of course, we say ya tu sabe, or Spanish tagline is ya tu llave. So there's a lot of plays on the whole llave thing. And it's trying to be motivational and positive all the time. Like I said, I'm the liquor guy. Like I'm the guy supposed to bring some positive energy. I'm not curing COVID. I'm not stopping wars. Thank God. I'm in a more positive light. And I want to empower others with the access that I have, because true power is empowering others.
All right, so let's talk about where you are now, right? So we already went through the whole starting from scratch in your Spanish Harlem apartment and going from room to room, investing $20,000, taking everything you've got and putting it into it, establishing, I guess, a relationship in Mexico, what that looks like, and then how you were able to start, because from what I read, you actually were selling them independently at first.
Yeah, I literally was telling everything out of a backpack and trunk of my car. So the first, I believe in 2-year increments, because my favorite quote of all time is Abraham Lincoln said, if you gave me 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. So everything was done by design. So I do things in 2-year increments. The first 2 years was creating Yave, the literal creation, from the bottle to the liquid, etc. The next 2 years was what we call the backpack days, but laying the foundation. So it was me and a few guys with backpacks on the train, delivering cases, picking up checks, all the things that people don't see, all the glamorous stuff that people will never know happens. I talk about that because I don't want people to think I woke up one day and Yahweh was in 10 states and about to go worldwide. So it started with that, sold everything ourselves. Then the next 2 years was the distribution phase, which was the last 2 years, where we started to get distribution in New York City, New York State, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, DC, Maryland, South Carolina, about to open up Delaware, working on Florida, Georgia. There's a lot more happening. But it started from where it started, but it was all about the marathon for me, the progression. So the next 2 years, because we're in the 7th and 8th year, of course, that quote 6 to 8, it's all about the explosion now. So now we're going to different markets. We're going overseas in some capacity, working on the Caribbean and some other things abroad. But more importantly, I wanted people to see the struggle, because everybody sees that Instagram moment. They don't see what it took to get to that moment. So I want to show people those moments. So when you see me posing, you see me with celebrities, you see me with your favorite artist or social media influencer, it took me a while to get there. And I'm still climbing. Like, I'm not going to say I'm at the top. I'm nowhere near the top right now. But again, it's a marathon. So every step is important. It's happening, man. I always knew I'd be here, but it's still surreal to be here, no matter what happens.
I know. I love that about you. You stay humble. But before we go, I do also want to make sure that our viewers understand that it's available to them in our local restaurants, right? Because that's another beautiful thing that you've been doing, is you've been making sure that you've established relationships with our small businesses, our local restaurants. So I understand that you just locked a deal with Choco Bar Cortez in the Bronx.
And I posted about that. So to find Yahweh Tequila, you go on the website, yahwehtequila.com. We have a store locator. All the bars, restaurants, clubs, liquor stores, you can find it near you. You literally press the button and it shows you all the stores around you. But the amazing thing about Choco Bar was Sulma, who we all know, she's a legend, Sulma Sue Brown, she's family to me. She walks in there on a Tuesday. She meets Carlos, they speak, they have a good conversation. He tells him about Yahweh. He says, I want to meet him. I heard the story. I come in on a Wednesday. I pitch him, his whole staff loves it. He orders on a Thursday. It comes in on a Friday. I'm hanging out for brunch on a Sunday. That's how simple support should be. Like, I don't have the biggest budgets in the world, but I have enough money I can come in and bring some people and spend some money. And he got it immediately. And the cool thing that he said, he asked me, he said, you in Puerto Rico? I said, I'm working on it now. He said, I want Choco Bar Cortez in Puerto Rico to be your first account. And I'm like, this it should be this simple. This is love. This is Latino love at its best, because if we don't support one another, who the hell will? And he did it. I give him props. I went that day. I have tons of people that have gone there in the past week. And he's like, dude, you have like 20, 30 people, because that's what Yahweh does. I'm not going to come swipe my credit card, but I'm going to bring a bunch of people, spend some money, and it's going to be reoccurring. And that's why it was so important. The way he treated me and the love that he showed was awesome. They make a mango margarita, which will be on the menu. And that's so important because the world's first mango tequila was dedicated to me at Vala. When Vala passed away, I wanted to dedicate something to her so she lived forever. And when I created that, it was a first. I did it from here, not from here, and it worked. And now that's one of our top selling SKUs.
All right. Jackie, you mentioned the mango. Why don't you mention the rest of the flavors before we go?
Well, we have a Blanco, first brand to win back-to-back gold medals in damn near every competition. We have the world's first mango, of course. That's the actual bottle with the key on it. We have a jalapeno, which is sabor de jalapeno. It doesn't burn too much because we take the seeds out. So it's the flavor without that overpowering kick. We have a reposado, which is the Blanco aged for 8 months in a barrel. And then coming back April 1st is coconut, dedicated to my mother, single mother who raised me. So everything has a reason with me, and it's working.
Que rico. All right, there you got it. I hope you guys are catching the spirits, because I know I am. Joe Cruz Jr. of Yahweh Tequila, mi gente. And for more on Yahweh Tequila, you can visit yahwehtequila.com and also on IG at Yahweh Tequila. And if you want to learn more about Joe, you can visit him on IG at The Real Joe Cruz Jr. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll speak to an artist that uses Black expressionism and stories about the first generation American experience to influence her art. Don't go anywhere. welcome back. Our next guest is a Jamaican American contemporary painter and illustrator whose work is described as mixed media abstractions, focusing on Black expression and telling stories about the first generation American experience, mental health, and love, with a repetitive nature that carries through her work, representing a kind of ever-changing self-portrait. And here now to tell us more is contemporary painter and illustrator Diana Carla Rowe.
Hi.
I hope they even understood all of that because it was like poetry.
Thank you. I do write, so that I don't know why. That could be why my artist statement sounds like that. Yeah.
It's lovely though. It's lovely.
Thank you.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
I mean, I get it. I get the whole vision of the, I want to say the visuals kind of looking like the same person, but evolving into shifting, possibly into different moods and different places and different sizes.
Yeah, and different emotions. It's kind of like, I feel like when I'm painting or when I'm drawing, I want everyone to be like, I've identified with that emotion before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't even like exact, right? It's like space that it kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like a bubble. Anyway, it's definitely mesmerizing. It's
Thank
definitely
you.
captivating, and it's definitely something that you can get lost in, right? And
Yeah.
and so before we got on air, we started talking about your whole process and how you got to where you are now. And for you guys, you know, I just gave you the description of her work, but this Miss Diana Carla Rowe is like no joke when it comes to the business aspect of it. And we must share that with our viewers because it's very impressive.
Thank you. So I'll kind of just jump into it. But so I was working at Neiman Marcus as like a stylist, and I would show them my work just for fun because I was selling my work, but it was kind of just to friends who were interested. So I've been showing them my work for about a year or so. And then they were like, hey,
how long ago was this before we start?
This was 2019, I believe. Yeah, okay. 2019. And this was in Austin, by the way, Austin, Texas. Okay. So I was showing them my work and they had this opportunity for a local artist. They were gonna choose someone from University of Texas, but they were like, we really love your work. We'll give you the supplies, like we'll pay, blah, blah, blah. And we'll give you this opportunity. Your name will be on the window. We'll dress the mannequins according to what you create. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, yes, I will take any opportunity I can get. And so we did that. And then an agency reached out to me about, I don't know, like a month later. And they were like, hey, we have this really great commercial kind of opportunity for you. And I was just thinking, and I was like, commercial, like, I don't know, you know, like, I don't know if that's what I'm looking for. But then I kind of, right? Yeah, it's a hard thing to do because you really want, as an artist, to curate how people see you. Right. And it can get lost in translation when you just create so much, like mass production, I guess. Right.
Yeah, and not only mass production according to what is going to be sold.
Right, exactly.
Because now it's kind of, you've got these confinements.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something I deal with when people reach out to me as well, but that's another story.
Right.
But yeah, so then they told me, they were like, let's look at this contract, blah, blah, blah. We'll take a cut, blah, 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 and this will be great. And this was, it's a agency I go through called Wexel Art in Texas. And they were like, yeah, the commercial client is Home Goods. And I was like, Home Goods? That's insane. Like, yes. Like, yes. I went from, so my first original painting I sold for $180. Right. And it was like a 48 by 48 painting, which is pretty huge. So for me, I was like, mass produced, like, yes. So they ended up mass producing one of the canvases out of the Neiman Marcus window. And so that was pretty lucrative. And I was like, okay, this is good. And then, so I had already been planning to move to New York through this stylist job because I knew they were opening a location in New York. So I was like, okay, let me really work hard to get this transfer. And so I was working there for about a year at the time. And I asked for the transfer and they were like, let me look at your sales, blah, blah, And then I moved to New York, and then the pandemic happened.
Right.
And I was kind of still painting, but not really. I was kind of just like still getting the money from the home goods thing. So it wasn't like my top priority to paint, and I already had a full-time job. Fast forward, pandemic, we get laid off.
Right.
They give us a severance, which was, admirable for a company. Some companies don't do that.
Right.
They gave me severance. I took the severance. I was like, what can I do with this to like really, and everyone was in limbo at that point. So I was like, everyone's in limbo. It's not just me. I won't feel so alone.
Right.
So I took my severance. I got a little studio space in Greenpoint. And I was like, yeah, I can start from here.
Brooklyn, right?
Brooklyn, yeah. And then at that time I had like 1,000 followers on Instagram, I think. And I made a post because I have a lot of friends that have like 25K. So I made a post and I was like, hey guys, I'm a full-time artist now, like commission me, share my work if you can't afford it, like blah, blah. And yeah. And then I found one client who bought 3 canvases for me. And then a few months later, she was like, I really love your work. I would love to connect you with another person of color who has a store in the Hamptons to see if you guys could collaborate together or work together. I was like, yeah, sure. So we had a Zoom meeting, and then she was like, yeah, I'd love to sell your work. And so I was like, okay, let's get to it. And so I was in the studio for months and months, kind of like seeing, because she sent me photos of the store. So I wanted to be intentional for her, because I didn't want to just send her whatever I had. Because at that time I was still figuring out if I was going the direction of mass producing or originals only. And so, yeah, I sent her about, I think, 8 pieces. And that was in last year?
Well, we're in 2022. So was it 2020 or 2021?
It was 2021.
Okay.
That the Hamptons thing happened. So I sent her all of my work in, I think, August. And there's 2 left out of all of them. And I was able to, so I told her my pricing and she was like, no, we're going to double it. So I was able to double my prices.
Okay, so can we just talk about what that pricing looks like? I just want to, you know what?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
You already shouted out what you were selling them for, and now that price in mass production is probably doubled, right? And then so the originals is a whole nother ballgame. So what are these?
Yeah, okay. So originally, when I started and I did the whole post, I was doing commissions like 30 by 30s for $500, which is like underselling myself. But I was like, I'm starting out, let me just get a feel for what I'm doing. And so then I started selling it for 1,000. And so me doubling my prices now looks like I sold a 48 by 72 for 3,500. I sold my 30 by 30s for 1,800, 1,750, stuff like that. And I'm looking at an increase again soon. So yeah. And right now I have about 3 paintings that I just shipped to her, and they're like $3K each. So yeah, so it went from $180 to being able to sell my work for $3,500 and so on and so forth.
I mean,
also,
yeah, I'm over here giggling in awe over your journey. You know why? Because it's important for artists to hear what we're discussing, right? Because you still do have the mass production aspect of it, because your stuff being sold, your prints are being sold at Home Goods.
Yeah. And also, so you're able to control what you put out. You don't have to give the agency everything. I've given them 2 prints in the last 3 years. And yeah, their account with Home Goods through me so far has made over like 20K.
Okay.
Just from mass producing.
Amazing. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Right. Before we go, I want to talk about the fact that your work is also identifiable. I want to make sure that our audience understands that not only were you able to design a business off of your artistry, which is awesome.
Thank you.
You also have a mark. You have something special in which people can see it and identify and connect it to you.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of started that because I was always interested in self-portraits, and I thought, what can like allow me to like kind of free myself from this need of perfection? Because before this, I was doing realism. And with realism, it's like, if it's not perfect, it's not good. And so I needed to release myself from that idea of being a good artist, because when you're jogging, are you like, am I a good jogger? Like, no, you just jog, you just do it. And so I kind of released myself from the idea of being a good artist, and also like, what does good Black art look like? And does it have to be controversial? Does it have to talk about like oppression and all these other things? I think we can talk about that through the lens of emotion rather than it being like out there and present. So I always talk about like me being a Black artist in itself and succeeding is the conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I do. And it's visible in your work. And I could see how it is abstract, but it's something relatable
Right.
at
Thank
the
you.
same time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm in awe over you, because I mean, what we did
Thank you
share
so
was
much.
the place. Yes, we didn't share the name of the place that's selling your stuff exclusively, the Matriarch, right? You said,
Yes, in the Hamptons,
and it's a person
Sag
of
Harbor.
yeah, huh?
Yeah, it's a person of color who owns it, and she exclusively works with women and predominantly women of color. And she works with small businesses, so she's amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations, and
Thank you so much. Thank you.
inspiring story with our viewers.
Thank you.
And of course, for birthing your artwork into the world and making it accessible to all.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you. All right, everybody. That's Diana Carla Rowe. And once again, you know, her prints are available through Home Goods, and her exclusive paintings at the Matriarchs in the Hamptons. And of course, if you want to just access her directly, you can always go to her website, which is dianacarlarowe.com. And don't forget, check her out on Instagram.
Thank you.
Carla Rowe. All right, stay tuned, because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
We kick this 5-on-5 off with the 2022 Hoops in the Sun Winter League. The finals were broadcast right here live on BronxNet television just weeks after we featured co-CEO Randy Cruz in my sports corner. Check out @Hoops in the Sun on socials for recaps and players of the week. The finals took place on Sunday, April 3rd. That paves the way for the summer tournament to return in June at Orchard Beach. Hallelujah! In at number 4, the latest with the Yankees and the Mets on the baseball diamond. Spring training broke this week, and we'll have the opening weekend of the regular season on tap this weekend. The Bronx Bombers opened at the big ballpark in the Bronx yesterday, the 120th season in franchise history. Yanks, Red Sox all weekend long to celebrate. The Mets, meantime, are in Washington and have been dealing with ailments to top starting pitchers Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. The Amazons continue their series in D.C. with the Nationals nonetheless. In the 3 spot, the Brooklyn Nets are gearing up for the playoffs, but man, oh man, they aren't making things any easier for themselves these days. They wasted a career high from Kevin Durant on the week, a double-double. No, what am I saying? A double nickel, 55 points for KD. We go inside the locker room for more.
Every loss is deflating. I ain't worried about that. I mean, just mad at the loss, I'm glad I shot the ball well. I mean, made 8 threes, career high, but I wish we would have came out with the W, just by doing the little stuff. My points are going to come. My shots are going to come. So, but the little stuff that we got to do, we got to be on the same page with. I mean, I can't come in here and act like I'm losing confidence. We lost some games, you know what I'm saying? We're going to keep playing until it's over. That's how I feel.
Also in at number 3, the Knicks have been officially eliminated from the playoffs, or should I say, bing bong, the Knicks are gone. Tough joke, I know, Knicks fans, but you know what? I had to do it. Despite career highs for New York native Obi Toppin and fellow up-and-comer Emmanuel Quickley, who notched his first career triple-double on the week, the Orange and Blue have come up short of the postseason, but are still putting together some wins down the stretch. Here's to hoping the young players on the roster author a better spring next year.
I'm trying to work on everything. Like he just said, being a leader, working on my defense, working on ball handling, like every aspect of the game. Like I'm trying to dial in on this whole off season. Like I know, like I'm going into my 3rd year into the league, so it's quick. Like we know we gotta ramp things up now. Like we gotta put a lot of work in this summer so that next year we can get to the playoffs. So I just go into every game the same and just try to play as hard as I can and do whatever the team needs me to do to try and get a W. So.
At number 2, the Bronx Athlete of the Week. We turn to the baseball diamond at Monroe College. Miguel Toribio notched a walk-off win for the Mustangs. The outfielder's single sealed a 2-1 victory over ASA. Monroe is currently undefeated in conference play. And at number 1, March Madness is done. It draws to a close, but it has been a memorable one. Coach K does not get the Hollywood ending this time around, folks. His Duke Blue Devils fall to UNC in the Final Four. Coach K's legacy is still about as good as it gets. Interesting to note, though, for our fans out there, UNC handed Coach K his first loss at Duke in 1980, a loss in his final game at Cameron Indoor, and, of course, his final game as one of the most storied coaches in the history of the sport. That UNC-Duke rivalry, to me, can only be rivaled by Yankees-Red Sox. And speaking of famous coaches losing big games on the week, the UConn women and coach Gino Auriemma were on the wrong side of history Sunday night. The team's 64-49 loss to South Carolina was the first loss for the program and Auriemma in a national championship game. The loss ended an 11-0 run for him and UConn. Let's give some credit, though, where credit is due, and that's South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley and her star Aaliyah Boston. Boston finished the tournament averaging 16.8 points and 15.2 rebounds per game. She's the first player to average those numbers in the tournament for a national champion. Also, over 18,000 fans saw that game live. Speaks to the growth of women's basketball here in the United States. To the back end of 5 on 5 we go. 5 stories that you may have missed and 5 to look out for from around the world of sports. It's a 4:05 start for the Bronx Bombers Saturday afternoon against the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium following the off day yesterday. A night game caps their rivalry on Sunday Night Baseball. In the 2 spot, the Mets play 2 7:05 p.m. games. That's tonight and tomorrow night before an afternoon matchup on Sunday. First pitch Sunday is 1:35 p.m. Formula One returns in Australia this weekend. They zoom on by here in the 3rd spot. You'll have to watch that race at 1 a.m. due to the time difference in Australia. Sunday, we'll also see a return of IndyCar. The series shifts to Long Beach. That's a much more manageable 3 p.m. Eastern Time start. And at 4, we'll stay with motorsports, but instead of cars, we have bikes on the track on Sunday. Hard to believe, but MotoGP lands in the U.S. for their only GP of the season stateside. MotoGP is at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas this Sunday. That's also a 3 p.m. start. And we'll cap this roundup with an on this date in Bronx sports history. At Fenway Park, 46-year-old Phil Niekro starts for the Pinstripers, becoming the second oldest pitcher ever to start on opening day. Only Jack Quinn for the Brooklyn Robins in 1931 was older at age 47. The Boston Red Sox chased the Yankee knuckleballer, unfortunately, after 4 innings, and behind the pitching of Oil Can Boyd, one of the best names in baseball history, Red Sox and Boyd coast to a 9-2 win. Niekro walks 4 in the 3rd inning, including 2 with the bases loaded, to lose his 7th opener in a row. That's just wild. 6 with Atlanta, the worst opening day record ever. This is not the best on this date in Bronx sports history. But this C-list could be the best for baseball in the very near future. Major League Baseball is making an effort to grow with the times and will be implementing a new format for the Home Run Derby. The new showcase, dubbed Home Run Derby X, as in BX maybe, I don't know, will feature a new setup, new rules, and a blend of current stars and legends, including one of our favorites right here at BronxNet, and that's former New York Yankee and World Series champion Nick Swisher. The competition will feature 4 of the biggest teams in baseball history. We've got the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the LA Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs. Each team will feature a former player, a legend, that's what they're calling them, a softball or women's baseball superstar, a player from that region's local development system, aka a rookie, and an influential content creator, maybe us, right? That would be really cool. They're calling this part of the show a wild card. While each player will have a unique role within their team, the wild card just may have the most intriguing job of them all. There'll be the average fan's eyes and ears into the event, showing us what it's like to train and prepare to blast dingers with the rest of the baseball talent. And even better, this isn't just for the MLB All-Star Game. Los Angeles won't be the only city to host a home run derby in 2022. That's where the All-Star Game is this year. MLB announced the launch of MLB Home Run Derby X, a global baseball tour making stops in London, Seoul, South Korea, and Mexico City, and featuring former stars Adrian Gonzalez, Johnny Gomes, Gio Soto, and Mr. Swisher himself. The competition will take place on a reduced version of a baseball field with a home plate mounted on a stage and a pitcher's mound on a podium, with a field of play designed to fit within a range of environments from festival sites to stadiums. Hitters will get to swing at 25 pitches and take up to 10 of them, with the opportunity to earn points by hitting targets placed 160 feet from home plate and 2 beyond the outfield fences. Similar to the mini games in the legendary video game MVP Baseball 2005, opposition will have players in the outfield and can earn points by catching baseballs that don't make it over the fence. Teams will receive a point for every home run, target hit, or catch, and players can call for what they call a hot streak that will allow teams to earn double points on the next 5 pitches. Creative and innovative. It's about time, Major League Baseball. Good stuff by you guys. We are rooting for swish, 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 swish. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Our last guest is a New York-based musician, rapper, singer, and spoken word artist, and her style is best described as alternative hip-hop pop. She's been featured in American Songwriter, Hip Hop DX, Earmilk, and more. She was recently named a finalist in the 2021 International Songwriting Competition for her song Follow Me, and her works have been called raw, honest, and affecting, with a goal of having her lyrics change perceptions on mental health and addiction. Here now to share more is rapper, singer, and spoken word artist, Vala. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for using your artistry as a means of providing this advocacy, this much needed advocacy in the world we are living in. So first, let's talk about the variations in which you exercise your artistry, because I know what we're going to share with our viewers is really hot, and I know you were the editor on that too. But let's talk about all of that, like musician, rapper, singer, lyricist, editor and all that, and how it all derives from your motivation to advocate mental wellness.
Yeah, I think that, well, especially with this PTSD video, the spoken word video, where I use poetry as like an outlet, for things that I've experienced in my own life with PTSD, with addiction, with my experience with, losing people and stuff. And I think that I love to convey it in a message, or I like to, but I really like to convey it in a message where people could see it. And I think that's where the video editor in me comes to play, because I am a very obsessive person. So I like to control things, and I'm like, let me put exactly what I see in my mind. Let me see exactly what I feel on the screen, let me shape this. And with PTSD, especially the double exposure, is like, what is going on inside your mind, inside you? What do you feel? These are images of like fire, the matrix, all these things that you feel maybe on a daily basis with mental health, no matter what you're going through. With mental health, depression, anxiety, sometimes you feel like you're on fire, you're in the snow and it's freezing. And I wanted to show that, there in a kind of an abstracty way, but yeah. So.
Yeah. No. And but even with your lyrics, right? Because the stories you're sharing are, for lack of a better word, very urban, like very like raw.
Yeah.
And so, you're very open about having recovered from a heroin addiction, right? And so, how is it that your artistry has served as your comfort? How it's almost like your protector, your means of basically having an outlet to release.
Yeah, well, I think with heroin addiction specifically, and all types of addiction, but in my experience, my drug of choice was heroin. And I like to be open. I've, 3 years clean and sober, and I like to be open about this because I think that's the only way to be when it comes to addiction. I think that, it's extremely important. And for me, writing and all this, writing stuff, like I was thinking about this the other day, actually, to go on a side note, but it relates. I was like writing a song, and I had taken a break, and I came back to listen to the mix, and I was like, all of a sudden I heard the synths and stuff, and I relaxed. Like it was like I could feel it just like toning the edge of what I was feeling like off. And I was like, wow, this is, for a lot of reasons, people use, heroin and drugs in the same sort of capacity, but obviously it takes you down a different path. It's like, if you could feel this, you could feel it because this is music making you feel good. This is something that drugs could never do. You know what I mean? This is something that goes so far beyond that because it taps into, like sort of, it's a universal thing you're tapping.
It is a universal thing. I think the word you're looking for is euphoria. It's euphoric. Yeah. That's the word you're looking for, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I think drugs try to synthesize that, and you try to get it, you try to find a solution for it somewhere because you have all this pain. You're like, I need to find something that's going to make me feel good now, and you think that that's heroin because, oh, it's the best painkiller in the world. No, that's just going to synthesize your pain 10 times more, because guess what? When you come off of it, you know what I mean? Guess what? When you are dealing with what you're dealing with and the people, whatever, all this stuff, and that goes into it, almost don't know how much it's a dangerous lifestyle. This is a euphoric, as you said, thing that you could tap into at any time, and it's 10 times better than heroin could ever be.
Yeah, well, congratulations on coming to terms with what it really matters, right? Because everything in life is a choice. And the fact that you've chosen to really dive into your artistry and your writing and your singing and your editing and just artistry as a whole, and then being authentic about it, right? Even in the way you're sharing right now, That to me, it's bravery. It's bravery to come and say, you know what, this is who I was and this is who I am now. And these are my strong points. These are my weak points, but check this out. This is where it's really at, which is what you're sharing with us. Right. But it takes something to even get to that point.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I realized I never used to want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about anything. I was a very closed person, like most addicts. You know, I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, and also just the East Coast in general. I mean, you know, from Massachusetts and Boston, it's like the town of the keep to yourself, you know, besides New York. So everybody didn't want to talk about things. It was all very, you know, emotions. They didn't want to. And I got to a point.
Suppressed emotions to leading to self-medicinal outcomes, right?
Yeah.
This is me trying to just like, you know, skim through it because at the end of the day, really, I think what you have evolved into is this really captivating artist. And I can't thank you enough for being open. And in addition to that, for choosing to serve as an advocate for suicide prevention. To the point that you guys, you know, this is all the time we have with Vala. I know we can go on longer, but you definitely don't want to go anywhere because the video that she produced that we're about to air, it's going to really sum up everything that we've been discussing. So don't go anywhere because when we return, Vala's going to perform for us.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Here now to perform PTSD. Please give a nice warm welcome to Vala.
People shut their doors. I try to tell them what happened and I feel ignored. Assaults result in flashbacks like a movie reel. Sequel after sequel. How much of myself do I have left? All the loops inside my head don't want me to rest. I used to block out the pain with white words in a black space to slip away from all the bad places. Even though I want to succeed, my hope is erratic. I'm so sensitive that everybody around me seems sociopathic. If you can't see the scars, it doesn't mean that I didn't bleed. Society blamed me when I was at my lowest. They try to shame me, and I got hopeless. They label me toxic when I was dope sick and crazy. There's a blacklist and I'm on it. I ended my romance and danced with the devil. So wait, please, I'm begging you, let me do better. Let me button my sweater, get a job and remember 9 to 5 paychecks, but honestly, I hope we're all in the matrix. And hopefully I can plug in, restart, and play it.
Yeah, that was Vala. You know, April is also National Poetry Month. And there you have it. For more on Vala, you can visit valamusic.com and check her out on IG at Vala Music. And also, if you or someone you know is in need of help, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-TALK. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor.